Chapter 15 Zoey. Finally, Samantha must have known something I didn't know about that house, and she left. I walked into the kitchen. Does he think I can exist on this every day? I threw another frozen pizza into the microwave oven. After scoffing down a small pizza for breakfast, I was determined to get out of this house and find a grocery store. I needed real food. I'm eating pizzas every day before nothing could be more real than enjoying a night out with a slice of pizza in my mouth. However, if you eat anything for too long, your body rebels. That was the one food I cherished as a child. How did I know that? It seems my memory of my childhood is coming back. Why now, I ask? Why not when I needed it when I was 15, to be able to remember who the people were who kept me hostage since I was 5 years old? In a way, I was happy and frightened at the same time. There were things I didn't want to live through again. Like the day I was taken by these people. My stomach was full and I yawned. I had to get to bed. Climbing up the stairs had me tired, and by the time I reached the second floor in my room, I dropped into bed with my clothes on. When I woke, it was dark in the house, and I saw two eyes staring down at me. Why are you looking at me like that? You can't come in my room and go around here whenever you want. You frightened me to death. Say something. And please get some light in here. I can go wherever I want, he said. You are such an ass and too arrogant for me. It's not that I'm arrogant, I'm stating a fact. I haven't accepted your facts yet. Would you rather I lie to you? Well, no, but some of what you are saying and doing is making me afraid. You're making me fearful of everything around me. I have this problem since I was kidnapped, and I can't get over the fear that something terrible is about to happen. Not with me. I will never do anything to harm you, he said. But what about all those people who are trying to hurt you and me? It's not me they are trying to harm, but you. I'm trying to prevent them. I need to have you around me, because only I can protect you. Where were you when that she-devil came to the door? You didn't let her in? His bluish-green eyes grew large. There was a rise in his voice. No. I probably wouldn't be here today if I had. You could have said how crazy she is, and she's planning on killing me to get to you. And when did you get engaged to marry that witch? I said with a hint of jealousy in my voice. I didn't know she was a witch then. It was before I became a vampire, and she's been following me and killing the women I've been in love with. I thought you said you loved only me. I thought I was your first love. That was years before you. What? Are you jealous? No. I'm not jealous. Well, yes. Didn't you say you have to love someone to be jealous? Something like that, he said to me with a wide smile. I had never seen him smile like that before. I placed my hand across my chest and let out a small huff. I'm just concerned about my life. I'm the only one in this triangle who can die. We all can die. But it's harder to kill me or her. Just as I said, I'm the one who is vulnerable. Why did you choose me? I had no choice. I fell in love with you. We don't choose who we fall in love with. I wouldn't know about that. I'm still young enough to know that good sex doesn't equate to love. When I made that statement, I could see the sadness in his eyes in the dark. They no longer had this brilliant glow about them, but had a dullness as if the light left his eyes. Sooner or later you will have to make a choice, he said, his voice settling on coolness. He had lost that warmth he had in his voice before I made the statement about sex. Well, I choose, and I don't want to be in love with you. I have a lot to lose by being in love with you. Just bring me back to Seattle, and I will take my chances. I must have been crazy to listen to you. I stood and tramped to the light switch and turned it on. The dimness had Sebastian standing in a kind of darkness, the kind of darkness where you are sitting at a restaurant with a date you are enthralled with, and the lights are dim, and the atmosphere makes the person you're with more beautiful, and in his case he was more handsome than I have ever seen him. His face carrying me away. His eyes glowing with a fierce inner fire striking me like summer lightning. I wished he didn't look at me that way. I felt the warmth of him, and was reminded of how he lay over me and seduced me, and I opened my body to him, and he took me and left me weak and wanting more of him. Now I felt angry because of how much I knew I needed him and desired his body. When my body is next to his, I forget that I am burning up with this constant fever. But I looked at him with contempt. Can't you get brighter lights in here? This isn't going to work out. I can see that. I want a man I can love, and I want a family. There's no hope for us. I'm human and you're dead. I'm warm and you're cold. I turned away from him to hide my tears of love and despair. My breathing shallow, and I stiffened when I felt the coolness of his body behind me. He turned me around and wrapped his arms around me. Held me close to his chest. With my head on his chest, somehow I felt I had been in this position before. Not recently, but when I was a child, and I was crying for my parents. It was that cool chest that I had sought to protect me and calm me to sleep. Angry about all the mystery of my youth, I hit him in his chest and hurt my hand. I kept hitting him. Finally he grabbed my hand. You will hurt yourself. What difference does it make? I said. I'll be dead soon. Don't say that. He gritted his teeth, and a wave of annoyance covered his face. I could have turned you, but I couldn't bear to, just like I can't bear to be away from you. He held me. Can't you understand? Can't you stay with me for a while and I will let you go? I have to make things right, so you can live without being hunted. Why am I being hunted? Why can't you tell me? I can't discuss that now. I have to go to the hospital. He turned, and I walked down the stairs behind him. Tell me why your family is hunting me. Make me understand. I need to know. I screamed at him. Pivoting around on the stairs, he said, I can't tell you now. Before he walked into the underground garage, he said, Don't go out. It's not safe without me. Rushing down the stairs behind him, looking at him as he walked to the car, I shouted, It's not safe with you. You just bark these commands at me, and you won't tell me what I'm against. Why do you think I act the way I do? You are the reason, I shouted. He never turned around. He kept walking, and got into the car, started the motor, opened the garage door and zoomed away with me standing there. Chapter 16. Zoey. Showering was the best part of living here. I could stay in it as long as I wanted. I had forgotten about school, everything. One more semester, and it would have been over. I had planned on leaving Seattle, but then I wouldn't have met Sebastian. Which is good and bad. Good because I wouldn't have to be confronted with this nightmare. Bad because I've never met anyone like him. In the shower, I could lock out all the bad memories and the feelings of loneliness for 15 minutes. In this secluded place, I didn't have to worry about nosy neighbors peeking through the windows if I hadn't bothered to close the blinds or curtains. The panoramic windows extended all around, but it was as if I was sitting in a forest with no one around. I could look out into the forest and see birds and squirrels scurrying about. As the water released a spray of warm water down on me, I watched out the window at a small colorful bird. It looked like a hummingbird or woodpecker, but I couldn't be sure. I wasn't into birds or anything that had to do with nature, but now I think I will find the time because it's giving me a sense of peace." The bird flew back and forward and hung around the window as if looking at me, wanting to come in. I tapped on the window a few times and it zoomed away. It was time to get dressed and surprise Sebastian. I didn't care what he said, I needed to get out of the house. I called Anne. She mentioned that today was her day off. "Anne." "Who is this?" "It's Zoey." There was a long silence. "Mrs. Sebastian. The new doctor's wife, remember?" "Oh yes. What's going on?" "Is it possible for you to pick me up and take me to the hospital?" "Sure, but it will take me a half an hour to get out to that hideaway of yours," she said, munching on something which made me hungry just listening to the sound. "Food. I needed meat and vegetables." I thanked her, hit the red button, and placed the phone down. I wondered why she used that word, hideaway. In actuality, it was just that. Did she think we were in the witness protection program? Well, close. I guess I'm too suspicious. Things were making me crazy. This house was making me crazy. My whole life had turned upside down since Sebastian barged into it, and he was making me crazy. I couldn't help thinking that it was because of him that Terry died. Taking my time to dress, then I threw my coat on and stood at the door. When I saw Anne's Jeep take the road to the front of the house, I stepped out and glanced around. There was that pretty bird again, but with the brisk wind and rain, the little bird flew into the trees to take shelter. The door opened, and I hopped into the Jeep. "Thanks, you don't know how much I appreciate this," I said to her. "Why are you going to the clinic? The doctor doesn't need you tonight." "It's the slowest time, not that we were ever busy," Anne said, smiling at me. "But the beds in the emergency ward was full last time. And the doctor can handle it. I've never seen anyone who could work that fast. He probably wants you around him 24/7. But I say let's go to the bar and have a drink," Anne said with a ready smile. The last thing I needed was to go to a bar. For one thing, because of Terry, and because Sebastian said not to go out. But then that was the perfect reason to go. "Sure, let's go. I was just going to surprise Sebastian anyway. He won't know I've been out. We stay an hour and you can drop me home," I said with a sly grin. Anne made a U-turn and headed down a street with 2 lampposts. She passed the front of the clinic, and a mile down the street sat a bar with a large 4-leaf clover hanging above it. She parked in front under a lamp. That was good. When we walked into the bar, everyone looked up. "Hey Anne, where's that boyfriend of yours?" the bartender said. "Left him home," she said with a giggle. "He's probably got bored and went hunting." "Does he know you're out without him?" "No. And I won't tell if you don't." She grinned at me. He made a gesture with his hand to his closed mouth and twisted his fingers as if it was a key, and he was locking a door and throwing away the key. "This is my friend Zoey. She's married to the new doctor." He wiped his hand on his soiled apron and then extended his hand to me. "Your husband is a great guy. He came here years ago when we needed a doctor. Not many men would come to this secluded place, and there's no money here. He said it wasn't the money he was looking for, but peace. Now he's brought his wife back. You're a cute one," he said with a pleasant smile. "You must be a solid woman to follow your husband to a place like this." I smiled and shook my head. "The drinks are on me," the bartender said. And then he made a big announcement, "This here's the doctor's wife." There came a cheer from the back and someone said, "I'll drink to that." Oh great. That's all I needed, for Sebastian to discover that I went to a bar when he warned me, and then cautioned me about my standing in the community. Looking around at the men and women, I figure if this is the community, then my position didn't take a hit. Thanks, Charlie, for the drinks, Anne said as he set 2 beers in front of us. I pay for the next round, I said, and then I reached for my purse, and I didn't have it, and if I did, there wasn't enough in it to pay for a Coca-Cola. I would have to take money from my vampire and come back to pay for the drinks. I wondered if he had any, but of course he does. I wondered how much. In the corner of the bar stood an old-fashioned jukebox, and 2 couples were dancing to Dolly Parton's I'll Always Love You. I looked at Anne as we sat at the bar. Now what? This is all there is on a weeknight, but there's a bar on the edge of town that my boyfriend and I go to, and there's always action there. Remind me to take you there on a Saturday night. I think I'll pass for now because Sebastian has to work. He works 7 days a week. Does he ever get tired? Yeah. Every morning, I said with a closed smile. We drank the beer we ordered, and as usual, I was ready to go when David walked into the bar. He stood at the entrance as if looking for someone, and when our eyes locked, he smiled at me and strutted over. He wore a dark jacket and leather pants. That's a strange look for a doctor, I whispered to Anne. Well, he is strange. We hadn't seen David since he was a teenager, and he was always a strange kind of person. The whole town is full of strange types. My boyfriend, for example. She looked up and didn't finish her sentence. Oh, hi, David. I was just telling Zoey how strange and unusual this town is. Why would you want to do that? I suspect she will find that out on her own one day, if she hasn't already. He sat down on the stool near me. He put his hand over mine, and I pulled it away. Anne watched as I leaned away from David and moved closer to her. Looking at Anne, I said, "Don't you think you should drop me at the hospital? It looks like David will be late another night." He looked at me and raised his hand for the bartender. I can drop her at the hospital. I need to be on time. After this drink. Don't worry, Anne, stay here with your friends. Anne watched me and then David, not knowing what she should do. I could see she was eager to stay. I'll have David drop me home, I said to Anne. There's no need for me to go to the hospital now. You're going to relieve Sebastian. Of course, he said. You have my word.